The TAT targets 1 million visitors in Phuket in 6 months. A person was arrested for firing a bullet in the Bangkok protests and a COVID surge in the south. That's coming up on Good Morning Thailand. Hello and good morning Thailand on the Thaiger. I'm Jay and joining me today once again is Tim.
Thank you. Me? Oh, thank you. Great.
Yeah, that's you. Right.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, we are at the BYD Lofts in Patong and it is a slightly rainy day today, Tim.
Started off with a little bit of thunder.
Yes.
We had to sort of batten down the hatches.
Yes.
I should also mention that this pot behind us, somebody sent us a message saying it reminded them of a woman. I have to say that if you are mixing with women that look anything like that, you are mixing with the wrong company.
Right. Hey, we all have our preferences. We won't judge you.
Okay.
Anyways, yes, we are at the BYD Lofts.
Oh, and they've given us some little snacks
They
here.
have. You had a very good breakfast today, didn't you?
Well, check this photo out.
Right.
Wow, what a breakfast.
That's a way to start the morning.
Hans, how much is the breakfast here? The English breakfast I had?
180.
280 baht.
280.
Let me tell you, that is the best 280 baht you'll spend in Patong.
Yes, and miss a meal because that was a heavy,
That was a
amazing
big meal.
breakfast.
That was very
Right.
good. Thank you.
Yes, and you can come and visit BYD Lofts and their website and get a 10% discount if you type in the promo code The Thaiger. So that is the promo code The Thaiger at checkout for a 10% discount and a free ride from the airport.
And that's bydlofts.com. I was also going to have a quick talk about parking.
Okay.
Because I was parking here at the BYD Lofts today. I had a little bit of an altercation with the
A little snafu.
with the gentleman looking after the parking, not at BYD Lofts, but at a adjacent property.
Yeah.
But it reminded me about parking in Thailand. It's one of those things that you sort of slowly get used to.
Yes.
So when you go to some car parks, there are car park attendants,
Yes.
which is fine. But they've got the whistles. And
Yes.
they seem to have to go to whistle school to learn how to whistle you and toot you. I don't know, what's the verb for whistling?
Toot. Yeah, definitely not tooting.
So whatever they do, there seems to be some code.
Yes.
So you're parking your car and you're looking in the rear view mirror and the side mirror and they're going, beep, beep, have we got anybody with a whistle we can make the sound?
Beep, 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 beep.
Whatever that sound. But they seem to think that their whistling is helping you park the car. Whereas I have to say, it doesn't help me at all. So why were you whistling at me?
Well, it doesn't probably help you now, but originally, when, I'm guessing this was more relevant a couple of years, by couple of years I mean 10 to 20 years ago, when the cars didn't have sensors and didn't have cameras at the back. So you'd listen to the sound of the whistle to know how far back you can go to the wall, and they basically help you park in tight situations.
So there's some sort of whistle code.
Well, especially I can think of Robinson's, which is a mall in Phuket town. It was actually the first mall in Phuket.
Yeah.
And the parking area in Robinson is so tight. You need to be a professional driver to park your car inside there. And that's in tight areas, that's where it's more relevant, because sometimes the sensors, even now in 2021, are, they're a lot more safer than perhaps they should be, and they need you to compact parking. So they use the whistle just to let you know, all right, keep going. So it's 2 whistles to keep going. So it'll be like,
Oh,
beep, beep,
you're
beep,
just
beep,
making
beep,
this up.
and then 1 whistle to stop.
No,
Yes.
it's not.
Yes.
So when they go, no, that
You've
means
got
stop.
to embrace the parking culture, Tim.
And we should also thank all the people that visited us. They dropped in to visit us yesterday here at BYD Lofts. Thank you very much. I mean, 10 or so people dropped by and said hi. And a special hello to the Belgian gentleman who dropped by to tell us that he'd sent an email to the TAT about his 2-hour documentary and was very disappointed. Apparently it was our fault that the TAT hadn't responded to him.
Right.
So if you're watching at the TAT, you better respond to our friend from Belgium.
Yes, he's got a 20-year documentary that he's compacted in 2 hours. So stay tuned for that, I guess. Yes. Right, let's get on with the show. The first topic we're going to be talking about today is the TAT.
Oh,
Here we go.
I'm so looking forward to this.
The Tourism Authority of Thailand has targeted 1 million tourists to arrive in Phuket in the next 6 months.
This from the Department of Inventing Completely Unreasonable Revenue Projections. Good on them.
Right. So the Center for Economics Situation Administration.
CESA.
I had to write that down. CESA. They've approved on Thursday TAT's plan to attract 1 million tourists in the next 6 months, which is the fourth quarter of the year and the first quarter of the next year.
Now let us say straight up that if we go back through all the projections of the TAT for the past 12 months, they have overshot the mark by such a high degree, they've completely missed the target.
Well, guess what? Their plan and target is to generate 60 billion baht.
Well, if we get 1 million tourists in Phuket up to the end of the year, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I'll go marching naked down Bangla Road backwards in a stooped position.
Why does it have to be naked?
Well, I just think it's
to prove a point.
Just to prove the point, because I am so sure I'm not going to be doing it, because there is no way, even in the best case scenario, that we're going to get 1 million tourists coming back to Phuket, even though it was the first province in Thailand to open with the sandbox. Now, the sandbox, you could say it's been good, it's been bad, it's been all sorts of things, but it hasn't reached its full potential. And that's partly because it came out at the same time there was a huge surge in cases in Thailand. And they had to keep the restrictions, well, very strict. So 1 million tourists before the end of the year, you're dreaming.
Well, not just the end of the year, it's also the first quarter of next year. So throughout the high season.
Oh, well, you didn't say that.
I did say that.
Up to what?
The fourth quarter of this year and the first quarter of 2022. Okay. So it's 6 months. So let's put this in perspective. In the last 3 months since the sandbox has been open, the economic contribution has been 2.25 billion baht.
Well, again, I'm sorry to interrupt, Jay.
Yes.
But these are not real figures. These are just figures they put out, which are guesstimates. There's no way that they're going to the till of shops around the island or anywhere in the country and saying how much did that tourist spend. They're not checking the bank accounts of the tourists. They're not going to the hotels and saying how much did that person pay last night to stay here. These are just projections.
And luckily Tim's found the answer and exclusive graphic of how the TAT actually calculates these estimations.
This is the formula.
This is it here on exclusively on the Thaiger. This is how they calculate and make these projections.
Amazing. I can see why they're so accurate.
Right. I have a quote here from the TAT governor, Kun Yuttasak Supasorn, who says, "We expect the number of visitors will significantly increase in the final quarter, factoring the quarantine reduction from 14 days to 7 days." So yes, the quarantine amount of days has been reduced from 14 to 7 days. You only have to quarantine for 7 days, and they think that will attract a lot of new tourists. While a consistent decrease in the infection rate benefits inbound markets in the upcoming high season, they also expect a lot of domestic travel. And also, they've approved group applications for COE. And why that is significant is because that will enable tour operators to help clients process the entry forms and allow commercial flights, especially from Russia, at the end of October.
Russia?
Russia.
Okay.
The Soviet Union,
was
as it used to be known,
or
still is known.
High-so way of saying Russia. Russia.
Russia.
Okay.
No, Russia. Mr. Yuttasak said that the easing of these restrictions should help generate at least 500,000 tour packages via chartered flights over the next 6 months.
I don't know why the TAT just dispense with all these ridiculous numbers and say, we look forward to more people returning to Thailand. We look forward to the continuing easing of restrictions. The TAT look forward to visiting different countries around the world and showcasing the fantastic opportunities for tourism to Thailand, and stop saying numbers. Because as soon as they say the numbers, they automatically look silly.
When it doesn't come true and they
overreach.
Under.
By a long shot. Stop quoting numbers, TAT. Do yourself a favour.
Right. We hope that 1 million tourists come. It is highly and overly optimistic.
Here comes the TAT now.
We'd love to see how many tourists actually do come.
I'm in trouble.
Let's hope that the high season does bring a lot of tourists to Phuket. Right, and that's
Our first story.
Yeah, that's our first story for today. We'll come back after the break and talk about how a person was arrested for firing a bullet in the Bangkok protest.
Interesting, yes.
As well as a COVID surge in the south. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand with me, Jay and Tim. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Coffee Culture, for providing us these beautiful mugs and coffee as well. Find your blend of ground coffee and coffee beans from Thai farmers across Thailand, shipped directly to your home. Visit www.coffeeculture.asia, and actually they've come out with a new blend, Tim.
And it's in a very swish-looking black bag.
Here it is.
And I'm not sure if it's got the little dot at the back where you can sniff the coffee.
That's right.
What's it called?
Well, this one is called the Doi Mot Coffee, and it is actually organic. The organic Doi Mot Coffee. Visit www.coffeeculture.asia to buy this new coffee blend for this week.
You can buy bags of coffee or bags of ground coffee or the beans, the original beans.
That's right, and shipped to you directly internationally and within Thailand.
They smell spectacular.
They do, and they taste even better.
So thank you to our sponsors. I'm really looking forward to having one of these. I'm having the prawn one.
Go for it.
What do they call it here? Shrimp.
Shrimp, yes.
Yes, I'm having the shrimp one.
The prawns.
Yes, that's salmon.
I see, yes. That one is
that's sort of a
chicken and mustard.
Chicken something. And chicken surprise. And this one is a coleslaw, I think.
Crab stick? Oh, it's a coleslaw. Okay, I thought I saw some crab sticks. Right, let's get on with the show. A person has been arrested for firing a bullet in the Bangkok protest. Tim, you have more details.
Yeah, a bit of background that during the protests, the police were managing the protests for right or for wrong by using the water cannons, but they were also firing rubber bullets. Now, there was a protester who ended up in a coma after getting one of these rubber bullets in the side of his neck. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him. I assume he recovered, otherwise I'm sure we would have heard about it. So good luck for a full recovery. But one person was shot as well, and the police were saying, whoa, it wasn't us, we weren't using live rounds. So police say they've been trying to track down a person, but the protesters maintained that the police were using live rounds and this person was shot by a policeman. So it was, who do you believe, the police or the protesters? But now the police have arrested a 28-year-old in Kanchanaburi, which is to the west of Thailand, and he's been charged with shooting a 15-year-old boy in front of the Dindang police station during August. So that's a developing story. We'll sort of find out if that person admits or is proven to have fired that bullet. It'll at least give the police the ability to say, yep, we told you, we were using rubber bullets and not live rounds. Whether police should be using even rubber bullets, which can be pretty dangerous against mostly peaceful protests, but we know there were some protesters who were really going out to try and make themselves aggressive. They were graffitiing a lot of public spaces, and they were causing quite a lot of destruction, setting things on fire. So there were two lots of protesters, but they've sort of gone quiet again. So as the restrictions ease, as the number of people who are allowed to gather together increases again, will we see the protests come back? My tip is yes. These protesters are young, they've got a lot to say, and I think they're probably going to come back at some stage in full force. I think we should also mention, though, even if you came to Bangkok and these protests were in full flight, you're unlikely to run into them. Yes, they are sometimes at busy intersections and sometimes in the middle of Bangkok and, say, the Sukhumvit shopping areas like Ratcha Prasong. But, mostly you're going to be pretty hard-pressed to find where these protests are happening. And they're always generally fairly safe, but I would sort of say if you're a tourist coming to the country, just keep away from the protests if you know where they are. and we usually promote where they're going to be on the Thaiger, so you can find out.
Right, Tim, let's take a quick break. Once we come back from the break, we'll be talking about the COVID surge in the south. We'll be back right after this from bydlofts.com. Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand. Tim, it's now time to talk about the COVID surge in the south. Now, we have had infections, new infections for COVID-19, numbers being quite high in places like Songkhla, Narathiwat, Nakhon Si Thammarat. Can you tell us a bit more?
Well, across Thailand, the numbers have more than halved over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and they continue to go down. They've been going up and down a bit over the past few days, but we've been dipping under 10,000 new infections, which still is a lot of new infections, and certainly when we've got the number of deaths still over 100, but the numbers are generally trending down. But in the south, the situation is different. Now, in the top 10 provinces for numbers of cases in the country, you got Narathiwat 617 new infections yesterday,
wow.
Songkhla 566, Yala 561, Nakhon Si Thammarat, which if you sort of go directly from Phuket east, you hit Nakhon Si Thammarat, and then you've also got Pattani, you've got 176 cases. So the south, which borders Malaysia, is still a bit of a hotspot with the numbers of cases going up at the moment. Okay. Now, the south has got its other problems. Now, we'd note there's been a 20-year-old insurgency in that area, which is partly geographical, which is partly political, which is partly religious, but it is a long ongoing insurgency which has seen more deaths than in places like the West Bank, which sort of takes all the headlines of the problems in the Middle East, but this insurgency in the south of Thailand is equally as dangerous. Now, as a traveller, you can still travel reasonably safely through the south of Thailand, and the police go to a lot of trouble to make sure the main routes are clear. But it is an area of concern, and successive Thai governments haven't been able to figure out this insurgency. Then added to this now, they've got to try and educate the population about trying to reduce this surge in COVID-19, mostly connected to the Delta variant. So yeah, a bit worrying, and we'll keep an eye on that over coming days to see if that surge continues, but that's going to be a tricky one for the government.
Yep, right. And once again, you can find the latest information on COVID-19 and all the other hot topics from Thailand on thethaiger.com.
Just like I did then.
Just like he did then. Right. Those are all the stories for today. Anything else to add, Tim?
No, but just a big thank you to bydlofts.com, and I'm getting into this straight after the show. We've been looked after very well here.
Very well, yeah. I've enjoyed my time so far. It's a great place to be. Got the sea right behind us, nearby. I can smell it.
Well, not quite behind us.
Well, it's like a 2-minute walk. Come on.
There's a 20-story building behind us.
That is true, yes. But it's a 2-minute walk to the beach.
Yes.
After that, it's a 2-minute walk down to the beach. It's a great place to be.
We should also say that if you pop down during the day, we're working here until about 4 o'clock each day, so you're welcome to drop past and say hello and get a selfie if you'd like to.
Right. That's all from us today. I'd like to thank Tim for joining the show.
Thank you.
Jason behind and in front of the buttons for all of you who corrected me the other day, and Golf behind doing social media.
He's sitting there eating waffles.
Also, stay tuned for Bangkok Pat and his documentary on Sukhumvit tomorrow on Saturday, and we'll see you on Good Morning Thailand on Monday. Have a great weekend.